Yo, what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? All right, so let's do this. All right, so I'm pretty sure we are live. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff. I'm on live on Instagram as well. Why the heck not? Going to go live on Instagram. What up, everybody? Okay, cool. Good, great to see everybody today. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to talk about some creative ways to get into real estate. A lot of people I know have questions, and so I'm gonna have the questions up in here. I'm gonna keep that up here, and I know I'm live, so this is great. I'm live on Instagram, and if you're on Instagram, come and join the Facebook group. It is called reallifrei.com to join in and join the conversation. So today I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to talk about like creative financing, so different ways to be able to purchase real estate creatively, as well as like the installment method. A ton of people have questions about the installment method, so I want to make sure that I can like talk about a lot of that stuff, answer any of those questions, because they're really cool ways. Oh, yo, all of the love. I appreciate you guys. Amazing. Good to see you all. So a lot of people have questions about the installment method because it's a really unique way to be able to get real estate, to be able to acquire real estate at a really discounted price if you're able to kind of find discounted real estate. So I guess we can start there, talk a little bit about what that looks like, because ultimately it's like, well, then how the heck do you get uh okay, dang, we already got people jumping in on the Instagram. Is the installment method the same thing as seller financing? No, similar, but not the same at all. And we can talk about like the nuances of it in just a moment. The biggest difference is is like you're not transferring the deed yet, so you aren't officially with the seller finance. You aren't on the hook for a long term, like so it's not a long term play. It's something that's a little bit short. So I guess it's more of like a shorter seller financing, but it's a little bit different. And Yeah, so they're not acting as the bank. So there's a lot of different things that come into that play where they're not actually, you don't even have to actually pay them a mortgage if you don't want to. It's all dictated upon the stipulations of the installment. So we could talk about all of that stuff in just a minute as we dive in. So I will talk a little about that. How can you get an installment method contract in my state, Missouri? Honestly, like sure, you can do it pretty easily. Installment contracts is very similar to like a contract for deed. So you get a contract for deed, a land contract, very similar. One of the big ways that we've kind of like taken it and we've specialized it to what we're doing. So typically when we do like an installment, it seems like everybody's just got installment contract questions or installment method questions. But when we do it, we're more likely doing them for like 30, 60, 90 days um, rather than either years out uh, or I mean, yeah, either 30, 15, 25, whatever years. Ours are more 30, 60, 90, 120 days. So much different from a seller finance in that way. And then it's also similar to like a land contract. So if you have a title company that knows how to do that, this is going to be a little bit different though. Because what the installment is for us and how we do it, and I don't have like a whiteboard and all that stuff, so that would be like really helpful. But how we do it typically is like, for instance, we just closed on one today, two today, three maybe. I don't know if we. This makes it significant. Hey, oh, you're amazing, Morgan. I appreciate you. Always happy for you and happy to keep up with you. So, so I would say for us, we use this a lot. Actually, we use this a lot now. It's actually the only way that we do things. One, because you have I think like the actual legal right and ability to market a property if you have it under an installment contract. So that's why we do them. But we had a banger, like an absolute banger today. It's 11 acres, probably like maybe 20 minutes from Charlotte, like downtown Charlotte. So like, I'd say maybe like 25, but like 15 minutes from like Mint Hill, Matthews, which are really popular areas. So to have 11 acres that close to Charlotte, I wanted to make sure, and it was a foreclosure situation. So I know somebody had a foreclosure question in here. It was a foreclosure situation. So for us, what we did is we wanted to lock that in because we knew that it's literally on auction.com under a foreclosure. And so we wanted to lock in our profits. Sometimes when people are what I call flight risks, we like to make sure that we nail it down as quickly as possible so that we then can market it out and not have to worry about these people running off and either going with the next best offer or just kind of ghosting us. So now we closed on that today. that guy no longer ever has to come back to sign another document, right? He signed the HUD today, which essentially is his payoff, the amount he's going to make when we close on the B2C side. He signed the deed over today. So that deed is actually held in escrow with our title company. Title company holds that thing in escrow. Now we can go and do whatever we want. So then I went and marketed. I blasted it on Facebook. I already have somebody from Facebook, a buyer, and it's going to make us, and for us, what we wanted to do was lock in our profits because we knew it was going to be a big house. We've already got somebody going to walk it, I think tomorrow or the next day. I literally put it on Facebook today, and we're going to make $150K just from that one. And so for us, it's a way for us to make sure that the flight risk doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't go and try to sign with anybody else when we're at the closing table because we've marketed it, and that person goes and wants to undercut us and go and pitch to that person because they're in foreclosure. That data is everywhere. Once we put that on there, everybody knows they're in foreclosure. They're going to go offer them. They're going to go knock their door. They're going to do all kinds of stuff to try to get that deal out from under us. They literally cannot do that because we actually now have equitable ownership on the title. Today's a little bit different. So typically, like, you only have to put like $500 down. But for us, this house is such a big house for us. It's going to make $150K that we wanted to make sure that we locked that in. And so typically we'll do $500. Today we did $5,000. So we put down $5,000. And that's what that guy got today in his pocket, non-refundable, equitable deposit filed with the county. That installment contract is then filed with the county as well. And so now the stipulations of the installment are, here's your $5K now. We're not paying a month. We're not doing anything else. No. So this is a fantastic question. And you can ask this because I think you're in the Facebook group as well. This is a fantastic question. So the seller doesn't have to sign again to release the contract? No. So that's the great thing about this. The seller signs away everything on the A to B side. And so this also, Alex, in the Facebook group, you ask, how can you get a contract? When it comes to the installment contract, I'm working with the guy who's the South Carolina Real Estate Commissioner. So he's one of the South Carolina Real Estate Commissioners, and he created this. He created the contract. So a lot of that stuff is his IP because he's taken like land contract, contract for deed, all that stuff, consolidated down, made it really specialized to what we're doing, and then made it accessible, or not accessible, but made it applicable to all 50 states. And so what he did when he did that, so like we have the contract, and of course it's like a course, but I want to be able to help to give as much value as I can. That's his IP. I can't give that away, but like I want to be as helpful as I can every other way that I possibly can. So like the contract, of course, is like in the course and stuff like that. But like I want to be helpful where I can, which is why I'm doing this live. I'm not pitching anything. So you could literally go and use a contract for deed, very similar type, same thing. If you want something that's very applicable to that, then it would be inside of that. So going back a little bit, so with this deal for this guy that we did, he signed the contract, that the title company filed that installment contract with the county, and then what happens from there is now we have a equitable ownership over that property. So if anybody were to look that up, so I went in today and I posted in the Facebook group, I'm the seller of this property. I'm the owner of this property. This is not an assignment. When we go to close, it's literally going to be me as the seller closing with the buyer. And so and this is really great. I like this because like sometimes you'll get buyers who are like, I don't like that your assignment fee is this much or whatever. The great thing about that is this makes it really helpful because they never see that. We are actually just selling them the property at a purchase price. They don't know how much we make. And so really, really easy on that. Can you get title insurance? Yes, you can 100% get title insurance on the A to B contract. Not necessary though. So I don't get title insurance on my A to B contract because they're only like a lot of mine are foreclosures. And so they're only like 30 to 60 days. So I'm not super worried about that. And then we've already cleared title beforehand. So I'm not really worried about it. But yes, you can get title insurance. So that's the thing with the installment method that's different from honestly a ton of other methods, is that one, it's recognized by the IRS. And so there's actual tax law against it. And so it's very legal. It's got case law in all 50 states. It's accepted because like, here's like installment contracts started back in the 1800s. And so really popular in the 1800s. And then what happened is during the 1960s, 1970s, when redlining became a really big deal, or when redlining really came about, a lot of minorities couldn't qualify to get mortgages, couldn't qualify to get any sort of lending. And so they would enter into installment contracts with a bunch of different sellers to be able to pay that off over time. And so what happened was it became really, really predatory with a lot of the buyers, because if a buyer, the minorities, would miss one payment, immediately the seller would foreclose on them. And so then it became really predatory. So then some states like Texas started coming out with state law to protect the buyer. And so states like Texas don't allow contract for deed because it's predatory, not to the seller, but to the buyer. And so this is actually a really, really interesting type of, this is actually a really interesting method to be able to use, because this is one of the only ones where the buyer is fully protected, because there is legislation protecting buyers because of the predatory history of it. So it's really cool when in other methods that you use or try to wholesale or try to do anything like that, the buyer is not protected. And they said RMLO. Okay, so remind me, RMLO, I'm going to look that up because I don't quite remember. What is RMLO? Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. That means federal state requirements to originate mortgage loans. Okay, yeah. Sure. Are you one? Sure. Can you bring in private money and attach it to the property for the upfront money on the repairs? So for us, if we were to use a private money lender, so we actually are a fund, so we don't need to use, we have a fund, so we don't need to use private money lenders, but a lot of times we'll create promissory notes. These ones don't get filed on the deed, but we have a promissory note with them, and a lot of times that's really sufficient for our private lenders. They're not actually on the deed, but the note is sufficient for them, so we're really thankful for that. And so then I was talking about before, so this is one of those cases where even in Texas, where contract for deed is not legal, because of the predatory nature to buyers, it actually is in this way because you have, it actually is in this way because they allow you to do 180 days. So if you do a contract for deed for less than 180 days, then that works. Yeah, so unsecured, yeah, I have really trusting private lenders that some of them I'll use, and it's unsecured because I've actually have a history with them. So I would say, like, use private lenders that you've used and done multiple times, that have worked with you multiple times, and then like on other deals and stuff like that. And so yeah, I have I'll actually have them send the promissory note to our title company, and our title company will kind of attach it to the deal. It's not going to be attached to the deed, but it's attached to the deal, and then they're listed as a payoff whenever we go to pay off. And so then I will send them all of our underwriting on the deal. They feel really comfortable with it. We've done a bunch of deals with them. So yeah, unsecured. Yeah, that's true. So that's not always going to be the case, but that's the case with some of our lenders. We definitely have used unsecured private money loans. And then we also have, I mean, in the fund that we have, we just use our own capital that we raise. So we raise that capital and can use it however we'd like. But yes, I would say if you're going to use a private money lender, you make sure that you have a good history with them, because something like this would be more of an unsecured one. But this is also what separates, right, like investing from wholesaling in a lot of ways. For something like the installment method, if we're going to flip it, then we better have the capital for it. And so we flip out of this all the time. But also when we're putting down that $5,000 today, right, to be able to actually just secure the house, we closed today, it was $8,700 for the closing. And so $5,000 of that went to the seller. $3,000 of that went to closing costs and miscellaneous items, I think taxes and things like that. And so this actually makes you an investor, right? Like you're actually investing your money to secure this property to then go and do whatever you want with it. So we actually put it on Facebook today for $550. We're going to put it on the MLS within the next week for sure, because that thing is going to go quick because we know where it is. And so now the seller doesn't have to sign any of the documents to put on the MLS, because I am the seller. I will sign all of those documents. So I sign all the documents to put on the MLS. I don't need a power of attorney. I don't need any of that stuff. Now, we do have a power of attorney at closing, and it's just a limited one that allows me to be able to get to add myself as a beneficiary onto the insurance. So that is a good thing you want to do whenever you're doing this, especially if you're going to renovate it or do anything like that. And so sometimes we end up renovating. We do JV installment deals. It's just really case by case. And then, like, of course, like, there's a split because we want to walk you through that whole process. We'll talk to the title company. We'll do all that stuff. So there is a possibility for a JV, just depending on like a case by case basis. And then it ends up being like a split of the profits. So sure, I'll open for that. And I know we've talked about it a lot. Don't worry, we'll get a call. My bad, man. Today got crazy. I have to pick up my kids. my wife is out of town for the whole week, and so I have to pick up my kids every day, and I have 3 kids, 6 and under, and it gets absolutely crazy. So, my bad on today, man. I will get back with you for sure, and we can chop it up. So this, let me see. I think I missed a couple of. How do you find this opportunities? Oh, great question, man. So I think this goes back to where I was going to start from the beginning, and able to get a lot of these off market properties. I have a wholesale company built out, and this is all we do, right? We go directly to the motivation, directly to the seller, able to get houses under contract because we meet their needs and where they are. And that's the big thing that I love about the installment method is that we honestly get to be present, meet their needs exactly where they are, so that if they need anything, like with the installment method, we're actually able to help them. So this guy gets 5K. He still has money left over. So we're still paying him more once the BC side closes. And so say this guy comes to me and he's like, "Hey, I really need help. I need $1,000 more. Can you be able to give that to me?" Like I'll literally just Venmo the guy $1,000, and then I send that to my title company, and then when I send that to them, I just like that's credited back to me at the closing, and so it's like I didn't even come out that $1,000. I'm essentially just advancing him that $1,000, and so it's really really helpful because now that dude that guy is like raving. I'm creating raving fans. I'm helping him along the way. I'm helping to like that guy maybe had medical bills or something happened to his car that I could be able to help with. And so there's been times where people are like, "Hey, I need to fix my car. I need $250. Can you help me out?" Sure, here. A lot of times we'll pay their when we're trying to get them out. Hey, we'll pay your we'll pay your first month's rent and your security deposit so that you guys can get in there quicker. And really, that's not coming out of our pocket like it used to. We used to do that, and it would come out of our pocket. Now, when we do it, it comes out of it is credited back to us at closing. So it's really cool to be able to do these things, advance them that money, get them what they need, help them along the way, and add a ton of value to them because like that's where they are in that season and that's what they need. And we can do a ton of different things out of this too. So like we do a lot of flips out of this. So we'll get it under contract, and if it's vacant, like the one today is vacant, we're gonna clean it out. We're gonna clean up the lawn because it's really overgrown. The whole house is overgrown, and then we're gonna put it on the market. But a lot of this stuff we wouldn't do, right? Like we wouldn't do a bunch of these things because I am not going to put money into the property, flip the property if I'm not protected on the deed, because then they can go, "Oh, thanks for doing all this work on my house. I've decided I don't want to sell it anymore." No, this guy today signed it away already, so he's literally it's just for me to go and sell the property and then pay him what he's owed when it goes to sell. So there's a lot of really big benefits on being able to really serve and help people where they are, where they need, and then also protect myself. And so that's just a big deal for us. And that closing that we had today, because it is such like a big one, it's going to make us a ton of money. So people kept coming to me, and throughout the week they'd be like, "Hey, can you send me the address? Can you send me the address? Can you send me the address?" Because I mentioned it like small, and yo, Matthew Perry, what up, my guy? Oh man, the legend. Matthew Perry is an absolute legend in the collective genius community. Appreciate you stopping in, homie. And so the guy, like, we mentioned somebody was asking, "Hey, does anybody have land outside of Charlotte?" And I was like, "Hey, I got 11 and a half acres in Indian Land, which is just like a hot area near Charlotte." And I was like, "I got 11 and a half acres." And then everybody started hitting me up like, "Can I get that? Can I get that? Can I get that? What's the address? What's the address?" And I was like, "I'm not telling y'all yet because yeah, y'all are a bunch of vultures. I know that you guys are going to try to go get this land." And so then I decided to wait. And then we closed today. And as soon as we closed today, I blasted that thing out and got a bunch of interest for it. And so doing this helps to really secure that money. Do you still have the seasoning period 90 days for an FHA buyer? Great question. So yes, you do. But the great thing is this does start your seasoning period. So I was talking to lender today. Oh, what's crazy? Here, yo, you want to hear the crazy thing? I did have oh my gosh. You guys, y'all don't even know. So one of the crazy things is because you have the equitable ownership over the property, you also get to refinance it. So depending on, which is crazy, right? So like your equitable ownership is the beginning of your seasoning period as an owner of that property. And so I'm actually trying to figure, you know what? I could do it with this one, but I'm trying to figure it out with, dang, I want to look on my list and see what I got. Cause I know I got some of these deals, but, you can actually, I was talking to one of my, I don't know what he's a mortgage broker. I guess he's a mortgage broker. I was talking to a mortgage broker today, and he was telling me that he has a guy that wants to work with us on these that they would do a no seasoning period cash out refinance. So most of our houses that we get are well under 65% ARV, well under. And so that means that most of these houses that we get, we could probably do cash out refinances on them, which is wild, wild. So just imagine you do this. Like typically you only have to put like $500 down as an equitable deposit. Let's say we put our $500 down, equitable deposit. Then we go on title, or actually we go as our equitable ownership gets listed on that title, and then we then can just do a cash out refi. So here's how the timeline would work. I would talk to the seller, get it under contract. When I get it under contract, I would send that to the title company. I then would set up with my lender the refinance process. So then once we closed on that property, I've already started the refinance process. And so maybe in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I'm then closing on the B2C side with my refinance. My refinance is paying off the original mortgage and the seller. And then now just $500 in closing costs out of pocket. And then probably $500 in closing costs out of pocket. And then the next closing cost, I am literally owning a property, which is just wild. And so it's a really cool way. And I get cash back because of the cash out. So just crazy that you could do this. So now the FHA question, because that seasoning period, yes, they still require a 90-day seasoning period. You can just do, honestly, a 90 or 120-day installment contract. And so typically what we do is in that case, we'd go, hey, we've got our financing in order to be able to close on the property. Unfortunately, we need another 45 days. If I gave you $2,000, would you be, or if I paid your mortgage for another month, would you be willing to go that additional 45 days? And typically they're like, yeah, heck yeah. And so then on the 90th day, right, you'd have an LOI set up, and then on that 91st day, sign that contract, and then be able to close on that property with that person. So then that gets past that 90-day seasoning period. Besides foreclosures, what other motivation do you guys directly to? So we actually just started pulling data. Not pulling, but we bought 80/20 data, and I guess I am one to gas things up, but like the 80/20 data that we got is like insane, like real crazy. So I really like it, and it's been awesome. So we just use like 80/20 data. What they do is that they use a lot of artificial intelligence and data stacking, or like motivation stacking, to score based off of what your criteria and your buy box is, score what the best houses would be for you to go after. And then we put them in, we market to them. And so they've got a host of motivation. And so like if you're able to stack your motivation, like so foreclosures, and those foreclosures are on maybe like, it's tough. Honestly, it's tough to do. But you could do it in like batch leads, or you could do it in something like that where you can list the different motivations, like where you can sort and filter through, oh, I want to have high equity absentee owner divorces or something like that. High equity absentee owner foreclosures. And so then that's like in essence data stacking. And so 80/20 just does that at a large scale. And so we get about like, I don't know, 50,000 records, and then we'll skip trace those and then go from there. And so you can do different, but like Deuce, I know you do a ton of foreclosures out there in Texas. And so you can do foreclosures, but you can also do, go to batch leads and then pull. That's what we like. We like that a little bit more than PropStream, but I mean, to each their own. People have different ways of doing things on the data that they like. And so that's the data that we just used. But if I were to say, like, if you were going to go outside of foreclosures, then I would say like high equity, like in batch leads, high equity, 40% or more absentee owner. That's going to be like a really good list, because like that's going to be the people that are more willing to move out quicker, or because they don't live there, or they've got a tenant, it's vacant, or it's going vacant. So that's probably going to be like the lowest hanging fruit at scale. You could of course like stack that and get like very specific. It's also a really good data set to grab is like I think it's unknown equity, and then also I think like there's like a unknown data or something, because there's a whole bunch of a list that the data that comes from the county is all convoluted and it's not organized well, and so like apps like Batch Leads and PropStream don't read it well, so they all categorize it and jumble it into like a crappy, I don't know what it's called, but they all categorize it and jumble it into there. And so then nobody reaches out to that because nobody ever touches that data. And so then they're never getting contacted. So they're not getting bombarded with 100 offers a day like everybody else is, because they're not being contacted because their data isn't organized well enough for these apps to read it. And 80/20 data does a really good job at having specifically those pieces of data and organizing it for you. So I really do like 80/20 for that reason too, because I think some of that has been really beneficial for us. So there's a lot of really cool ways to be able to like find different motivation, but that's kind of one that I really like. So yeah, good questions so far. Everybody's been like lighting this up. How long have we been doing this so far? I don't know, 25 minutes. I don't know. I'm here to answer like literally like probably any question that you guys would have. I love answering questions. And so if you guys have any questions, then that's fine. I've only really talked about the installment method, but not even too much. There's a ton of ways that you can use it, but I think we've gotten down into like a lot of the nitty gritty because you guys have very specific questions. So that's fantastic. I love these questions. I love also seeing all the people in here. I appreciate you all stopping by. Yeah. So, but in essence, like, I don't think I ever, because a lot of you know what the installment method is. I don't even think I really talked about it. But in essence, what happens is I go to a seller and I have some sort of talk track with that seller. But in talking to that seller, I also offer them cash now. And I can offer them more on their property because I can list it without the seller ever having to sign any sort of listing agreements or anything like that. I can list it on the MLS. So I get to offer them more for their house because I know it's going to sell on the MLS. So I can offer them more, and then I also offer them money now as a non-refundable equitable deposit. The title company then goes and files that equitable deposit with the county with our installment contract, and then now we have equitable ownership over that property, which is like significantly better than a memorandum or a notice of interest. Because you know what? Really funny. I actually heard that in in Arizona, that one of the real estate commissioners got together with somebody. I can't remember who it was, but got together with somebody and was like, hey, how do we stop wholesalers from filing memorandums on properties? So it's really interesting because like a lot of times I hear just so many instances of like real estate commissioners really trying to regulate a lot of the things that wholesalers are doing. And so this is better than that because this is actual ownership, equitable ownership of a property. So better than a memorandum, better than a notice of interest because of that. So then what happens is then we go to a closing within the first like 7 to 10 days. And I love this timeline because whenever you get a seller to agree to go under contract with you, if you're like, all right, I'll see you in 30 to 45 days, then like they got a bunch of people calling them along the way. They are thinking about it. They want to back out. They're not showing up. There's a lot of things that's happening here. And then if I'm like, hey, I'll see you in 7 to 10 days, and that's when you're going to get your non-refundable equitable. That's when you're going to get your equitable deposit. You do whatever you want. It's not like an EMD where an EMD goes into escrow. They don't touch it. This is a non-refundable deposit. They can do whatever the heck they want. That money goes straight into their pocket. They love that. And so we're actually giving them money at that initial closing in 7 to 10 days after we sign the initial contract. And so they're going to be there. They're like, heck yeah, I get my money in a week. Let's get it. And so then they're doing that. Then they're signing away, right? They're signing the HUD that has the amount they make, not the amount we make. They're signing their HUD. And then they are, after that, they are signing the deed. So then they've signed it all away. They don't ever show up again, which is awesome. But then now I have equitable ownership and a deed held in escrow by the title company. I have that equitable ownership to go do whatever I want with the property within reason, right? I'm not going to be really malicious or mean or anything like that. I can actually wholesale it and market it legally and ethically, and then I can actually put it on the MLS with a realtor without having to worry about signing any other documents. I can then refinance it if I wanted to. Heck, if I wanted to extend it and go, hey, Mr. Seller, you know what? What if I put a tenant in this and paid you over the next 20 years? Would you be interested in that? And they were like, sure, why not? Then you could turn it into a seller finance and rent that thing out. There's so many things you could do with this, but typically we like to keep these within like 60 days. So it makes it, we're not trying to like make these really long. We're trying to get paid on these. And there is skin in the game, right? So you're using money now. So whether that's $500 in closing costs, and today, in today's instance, when we closed on this property today, we put $5,000 in closing costs. And so there's skin in the game that's non-refundable. If I can't sell that property, then I'm up a creek. But we know that because of our underwriting, because of the location, because of the market, that we know that we're going to be able to sell that property. And so we know that we're not at any risk at all on the properties we do because our underwriting is so tight. So you got to make sure you have good underwriting if you're going to use something like this. And so I think this is a really cool one because this really separates, honestly, the investors from the non-investors, because you're actually putting money into these deals and having to do them. And so a lot of people that would be interested in something like this, you want to make sure that you have the money to be able to close on that property if you need to. Typically, it's only like $500 in closing costs. In South Carolina, I use Gary Pickren. It's like $1,500 to close at his office. So I'm all in $2,000. So it's pretty easy. And that $500 is credited back to me at the closing on the back end because that's the equitable deposit on the property. So crazy. It's really awesome. So I love using it. I'm just rambling on right now. If you guys have any questions, like specific questions, let me know. Or else I'm probably going to like peace out. I know I didn't talk about all creative financing like sub-2, seller financing, novations. There's all different types of ways to do things. And like we do sub-2s. We got, my gosh, I think in the last week we've gotten 4 sub-2s or 3 or 4 sub-2s. So like we do sub-2s all the time. Sub-2s, if we want to keep it as a rental property, we're going to do a sub-2 on it. But honestly, everything else we do is an installment. Everything, every time, installment. Just because for us, it's replaced novations and it's replaced like the mechanism. It's become the mechanism for wholesaling for us because it secures our profits. We get really good deals. I'm thankful for that. And this helps to eliminate the flight risks. That's what I call them, flight risks. And it helps to make sure that, because like honestly, good wholesalers in this industry, really good ones, have a 70% contract to close rate. That means 30% of people are falling off, whether they get cold feet, whether they back out, whether they're signed with somebody else. Yo, my guy, Warren, you're the man, bro. I appreciate you a lot. Can't wait to see you next week. And so whether it's sellers back out and things happen. I've literally had a seller on the closing table, got our lender to wire in the money and everything. Crazy. Backed out, signed with somebody else and closed with them already. Like insane. And so this eliminates that, like straight up eliminates that, because this turns it in from a 70% contract to close to a 100% contract to close, because ultimately they've already signed away the deed on that A to B side. So pretty cool. We love using it and it's awesome. If y'all have any questions, let me know. DM me. Would love to chat with you about it. I know I say that, and I know some of y'all DM me, and it takes me a little bit to get back to you, and I'm sorry. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. But thankful for you all. If you really want to kind of chop it up and hang out, join the Facebook group, realliferei.com, realliferei.com, or if you like go into Facebook, it's the Real Life REI group. It's free. I just go live in here a lot more than I go live on Instagram, because I want to make sure that I bring as much value as I can to everybody in here. So thankful for you all. I hope you have a fantastic day. Does anybody have any questions before I sign off? I know there's like generally a little bit of a lag, but I just want to make sure before I sign off so that I answer all the questions, because I love to make this a lot more interactive. I will sit on here for 3 hours if you all will allow me to, by asking questions. Otherwise, I don't really just want to ramble to myself. But if I am providing value and you all have questions and getting your value questions asked. Also, in KC, Warren, there's some sick stuff has been coming out with AI. I hope you guys are paying attention, because it's insane and it's a lot of fun. We'll probably chop that up next week. But y'all have a fantastic night. Oh, if you have time, would love to hear how your direct to motivation A to Z, the whole process of it. Oh, dang. Okay. All right, my guy. He's trying to get that. I shared my process map on a live last week. It is in the Facebook group. So if you go back, you could actually literally see the process map A to Z of how we do that. That's the process map though. That's not the procedure of it, right? The procedure of it would be like going, right now we use 80/20. So we just rely on their data because they use kind of that kind of day. I done missed the call cooking dinner. Dang. That's okay, homie. I don't know how good it was. But you could definitely check out the call in the group. It's live, and so it's just going to go and save directly into the group. So if you are in the Facebook group, you will be able to see it. And you're in the Facebook group, so you're going to be able to see it. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, because I'm probably about to bounce. But I hope the dinner was good. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, you can always ask that question, Deuce, and maybe I'll create a video on how you can do it on like batch leads or something like that. Because we use just what we used to use was batch leads, high equity absentee owner. We'd throw that into our dialer. We'd skip trace it. Batch leads was a good skip tracer. We'd skip trace it. We throw it into a dialer with cold callers, 2 to 3 cold callers if you could do it. And if you could afford that, I've got a place where you can get some amazing cold callers. Our cold callers are actually very good. We started with 3 more last week, and I'm very impressed. They did a great job. And so, so you could, oh man, no problem. And so you could throw that in there. I actually hear that launch control is actually picking back up and starting to gain some steam again when it comes to texting, because they've made some changes to adjust to the regulations, which is fantastic. And then you could use mailers. Mailers are really consistent, but also cost more than all the other ones. So just really depends on what kind of marketing you spend. You have to go directly to the motivation. You can, let's see, you can do, what else is there? You door knock. So I know like that's a really great way to do it. If you could stack like the way that you reach out to people through either cold calling and door knocking, like you'll do really well. If you could mail them, you'll do really, really well, because like you're getting as much brand awareness as you can in front of them. So the more that they can see your brand, because there's an old marketing saying that said, somebody needs to see your brand 7 times before they remember you. That's not really the case anymore. The case now, because of short attention spans, because of the advancement of artificial intelligence in marketing in general, it's now anywhere between 15 to 17 times somebody needs to see your brand. And it can be subconsciously or consciously before they actually actively remember you specifically about that niche or target that you're trying to reach. And so as much as you can get in front of them, right, you are knocking on the doors, and then you're sending a mailer. So then now they're like, oh, I remember that guy. Or they're sending a mailer, and then you show up on their door. Like there's a sense of brand awareness that they continue to see you over and over. Then that's going to that's going to make the opportunity and the statistics of you actually being able to work with those people a lot higher, the more you're able to have more touch points with them. So I would suggest that if you could do multiple channels are great. Good question, though. Fantastic. All right, y'all. I think I'm about to go. This sounds good. Seems like, hope this was a good time. I appreciate everybody showing up and being here. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. If you're not in the Facebook group, join the Facebook group, realliferei.com. I go in there live a lot more in there than I do in here. So, yo, thank you, my guy. Thank you. Let me know how some of those deals are doing. See if I can help you with any of those. You're the man. Hey, you're a blessing, Deuce. You're a blessing. Y'all have a fantastic night, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye. Oh, man. This is always the worst when you're trying to end your live. You know what I'm saying? All right, ending now.